Hi, I'm Danielle. Welcome to my perfume journal. This is the July installment of my series called Perfume Collecting for Regular People, where I kind of pull back the curtain and share exactly what I've added to my collection over the last month, what I have decluttered, and what I have spent down to the penny. So I noticed recently that I have a bunch of new subscribers. Thank you so much for subscribing to my little channel. I really appreciate it. I'm very grateful to anyone who chooses to spend their time watching my videos. So thank you. I started this series a couple of years ago on my Instagram page as kind of like a tongue-in-cheek way of representing those of us in the perfume community who love perfume, who are perfume enthusiasts and perfume collectors, but we are also on a bit of a budget. So that is where the name Perfume Collecting for Regular People came from. It's meant to be just kind of silly, tongue-in-cheek, but it's also meant to say, like, yes, you can actually have a really amazing personalized perfume collection without going into debt or without having hundreds and hundreds of expensive bottles. I have been a perfume enthusiast for over 40 years now, and I am still just as passionate and excited about this interest as I have always been. I am still loving it. So now we can get into what I added to my collection in July. So in July, I did go on a vacation, and that is where I have a tendency to go a little bit overboard on perfume shopping. But I have to say, I was pretty proud of myself. I went into this vacation with a plan to purchase one specific bottle of perfume, and I only purchased one other fragrance in a travel size besides the one that I planned for. So nothing, as I was like shopping around, nothing really said like, buy me, even though I did smell a lot of stuff. So I am going to pat myself on the back for being a well-behaved vacation Danielle this month. So pre-vacation, I started out the month of July by purchasing Tales of Us from Filigree and Shadow. I have had a number of Filigree and Shadow perfumes on my safe blind buy list for months, and so I decided I would add this beautiful creation to my collection for July. And if you follow James on his socials, you know that he is packing up and moving to Belgium. So I'm really excited for him as he begins the next chapter of his personal and professional life. So James's perfumes are water-based for the most part. He also does have them in alcohol-based formulations, but I love his water-based perfumes. This is my third Filigree and Shadow scent, and I have found that they last plenty long on me in their water-based formulations. Not to mention that they are just beautiful in this manner. You can see that the liquid is almost opaque. It's very milky when the oils and the water mix. It's just so different and so beautiful. Just look at the color of this perfume. It's gorgeous. And this scent is just as beautiful as the color of the liquid. All of James's scents have a story behind them. Most of them are inspired by music of some kind. This one is named after an album by the techno band Goldfrapp, and James describes this scent story as, quote, a bike ride on a summer afternoon when you find yourself humming a familiar tune and everything is but a dream. Isn't that beautiful? It is a simple but effective image that weaves the scent and the story together, and this is really a very dreamy scent. This is gardenia and neroli up top with this stunning jasmine heart and a very soft musky base. The jasmine in this perfume is the kind of jasmine that you only get from an artisan perfumer like James. It's sweet and almost bubblegummy like a fleshy white flower can be, but then underneath it all is a teeny tiny bit of that animalic indole that gives you that feeling of like sweaty, sun-warmed skin. So I sprayed myself down with this one day last week, clothes and all. And it just kept wafting all around me throughout the day. a little bit sweet, a little bit breezy, a lot floral, and like a little bit human. I just loved it, and I'm so, so grateful that there are perfumers like James out there making such evocative, beautiful things for us to enjoy. So then I happened upon a partial of one of my old-time signature scents at a price I could not look away from, so I went ahead and purchased this vintage bottle of Joop Femme. Let me just start by saying that most people seem to absolutely despise this perfume, but I love it. I have loved it since it came out in 1987 when I was in college. I was wearing this and I was thinking I was really some kind of something because no one else was wearing this. And a couple of years ago, I got the current formulation of this and I ended up returning it because it was so awful. I didn't even want it in my possession for the nostalgia of the bottle. That's how bad it was. But this is exactly how I remember it. So, you know how I always say that it is really difficult to describe these kinds of vintage scents because they have like 20 bajillion notes, and they're not like you can say, oh, this is an iris, or this is a bakery style gourmand, or something to sort of like anchor your understanding of the perfume. But I'm going to give this one a try by saying Joop Femme is very vintage smelling, that is for certain. And it is a kind of soapy, animalic, vanillic, musky, woody floral. So how's that for vaguely specific? And I think the thing about this perfume that sets it apart from other perfumes of its age is the beautiful sweetness in the dry down. I think this is also what made its counterpart, Joop very, very popular when it came out 2 years later, aside from the very memorable fuchsia pink color of the liquid. They both have this wonderful, warm sweetness in the dry down. It's kind of like the creamy lather of a bar of sugared vanilla soap. And I love this perfume so much. I'm so happy to have this little bit back in my collection. So then right before I left for vacation, my friend Jill and I had a little perfume exchange. We swapped bottles and some samples with one another, which is always so much fun. I sent her my bottle of Iris Violet from Alexandre J, which I decided to declutter because I have a couple of other similar violets in my collection. So I thought I would pass this one on to a happy new home. Iris Violet was my only declutter this month. It is very much a purple floral that smells to me like sweet Parma Violet candies that were made into a soft drink. It's kind of effervescent and bright rather than dry and chalky in the way that other Parma Violet perfumes can be. And I really enjoyed it, but because I had other similar perfumes, I thought I would put this one out for a swap. One of the things I always say to people that I swap with is, if you end up not enjoying something we swap, I will never, ever be offended if you decide to swap it, sell it, or give it away. It is yours now, so go to town doing with it what you will. You will never have to worry about offending me. I am Gen X. It takes a lot to offend us anyway. Okay, so now I have my bottle of Guerlain EDT, and I love it. I talked about this in my last video because it was one of my most worn perfumes of the month. Perfumes that are like newer to my collection often end up on my most worn list because I want to get to know them, so I wear them more. And I can absolutely 100% see why this is one of Guerlain's best sellers, why this is the signature scent of so many people, and why there are a lot of flankers of this perfume. So Guerlain has that like Fleurmond kind of quality to it with a fruit note up top. In this case, it's pear. It's got beautiful rich florals and the warm, sweet vanilla in the base. And of course, the hero note of Guerlain is lavender. It's wonderful. It is that fabulous balanced blend of sweet, fresh, floral, musky, and woody. It gives me the feeling of like Shalimar, L'Initiale, and Burberry Brit had a cute little perfume baby. This is a beautiful, fruity lavender vanilla. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm getting older, but I just find myself enjoying a good, solid classic perfume more and more. There was definitely a time where I was seeking novelty and innovation and newness, but now I am really finding that I just crave and love things that smell classic and timeless. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to ooh and ah and maybe even purchase something novel ever again, but I do find that recently I am drawn to scents that I could see myself reaching for at any time, at any age, any occasion, any season. There's so many of them out there, and still they're also different and unique. So fill my shelves with all of those classic timeless perfumes. So this beauty right here is Melograno from Santa Maria Novella. I have wanted this perfume for ages. Every time I've had the chance to smell it, it has reminded me of how much I love it. And I was just waiting for a good time to cross it off my wish list. And vacation seemed like the perfect time for that to happen. So, like many of Santa Maria Novella's fragrances, Melograno smells very, very unique. Does it smell like pomegranate? No, it does not. Do I care that its name doesn't match its scent? No, I do not, because it's wonderful. At first, this smells very, very clean, very, very soapy, like a freshly unwrapped bar of white Castile soap. But as it dries, it takes on this like foamy quality, kind of like a shave cream. And some of the spicier aspects of the scent begin to merge with the soapiness. And then in its final phase, it has a mossy, musky earthiness to it. And I was thinking about it, and I think the reason I love this perfume so much is that it kind of reminds me of how I remember my grandfather used to smell. He was always very clean, and he also wore Old Spice. He loved to garden, he loved to work with his hands, and somehow the dry down of this perfume is like all of those memories rolled into one. It's just fantastic, and I am so, so happy to have this in my collection. And finally, this is a travel spray of Primo Bacio from Acqua di Giulietta, a small perfume house that comes out of Verona, Italy. It is a lovely family-owned business. The entire perfume line consists of 6 scents. Each one is crafted as an homage to the city of Verona that the family loves so much, and of course inspired by the literary character of Juliet from Romeo and Juliet. So I did not have a lot of room in my suitcase, which is why I chose a travel size of this perfume. So I chose Primo Bacio because of the camellia note. I love camellia. It is a floral you don't see featured very prominently very often, but when it is at the heart of a perfume, it is so beautiful, so pretty. This is grapefruit, orange, camellia, and musk. It is bright and lively and fresh, and it smells very, very pink. And the moment I smelled this, I was transported back to a camellia scent I used to wear. I want to swear that it was like either a lotion from Bath and Body Works in like the 1990s, but I can't seem to find it anywhere. It's probably one of those like Mandela effects, like how we all remember Sinbad was a genie in a movie called Shazam, but that movie never actually existed. Anyway, it reminds me of a camellia lotion that I wore in the 1990s, and I am so, so pleased to have this beautiful pink floral scent to enjoy. Hopefully one day I will make a return visit and leave a little room in my suitcase for a larger bottle. Okay, so getting down to the dollars and cents of my perfume collection for July. I will start out by saying, as I always do, that my perfume or my fun money budget, as I call it, is $100 to $150 a month. This is the allowance I give myself to spend on the things I want, but don't necessarily need. It doesn't have to be perfume, but it almost always is. I really try hard to keep to my budget every month. I am not always successful, But I do find that budgeting this way helps me keep my perfume hobby from getting totally out of hand. When you have a hobby or an interest as expensive as perfume, you have to keep the guardrails up. Of course, I also want to acknowledge that it is a significant privilege to have any fun money to spend at all. I know that this is not the case for many other people. It was not always the case for me either. And it is a privilege that I do not take lightly or without deep gratitude. So I started out the month of July with $187.90 in my perfume piggy bank. And for the first time all year, I did not bring in any money into my perfume piggy bank, not a dime at all. So my income for my perfume piggy bank was zero. So as for my spending, on my perfume purchases and the postage for my Perfume Pal swap, I spent a total of $251.79 this month. And of that money, $175.50 was spent on my vacation. So I did go over my budget quite a bit by $101.79 this month, but with some very nice memories and no regrets. And to balance this out, I'm going to try to be a little more budget conscious for August and September. So as we round out the month of July, for the first time in 2025, I am finishing the month not ahead for the year. So when you factor in like all of my declutters and other things that I sell secondhand to enjoy my hobby responsibly, I have ended each month of the year so far well ahead of my budgeted spending, but this month I ended up having spent a total of $63.89 of what I call new money for the year. And I know that that might be kind of like a silly way of thinking about spending because spending is spending. But this is what being a conscious consumer looks like for me. It might look different for other people. I love seeing all the different ways people choose to budget or splurge on their perfumes. And this is just what works for me. So hopefully I will sell a few things in the month of August to kind of get ahead of my spending again. I was really hoping to end 2025 ahead of the game without actually having spent any, quote, new money. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm going to try to be a little more budget conscious this fall. Maybe try to keep my spending under budget each month. We'll see if I'm able to do it. My wish list is pretty short right now, so it might just be a few fun blind buys, and we'll see what else crosses my path. So there we have it, the ins, the outs, the dollars, and the cents of my perfume collection for the month of July. Thank you so much for watching, for spending your time here with me, and for chatting perfumes with me in the comments. I really appreciate it. I wasn't able to spend much time on YouTube this past month because of vacation, and then I got sick with COVID, and I really missed the regular interactions I've come to enjoy so much here. So I'm glad to be back in the swing of things. Really glad to be talking with all of you again. I appreciate you so much. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.